A sleeper hit. Moviegoers are enthralled. Science and spirituality come together in this mind-bending trip down the rabbit hole. Oh my god, just breathtaking right there. My name's Ellie, I'm 22 years old, and today I just wanted to do a look through of the DVDs I have in my collection. This will be a ranking. Everything is put into 6 distinct categories that I will explain when I get through them. But yeah, the order they appear is the order of my favor. This will be unscripted, but I will try and edit it to be tolerable. I only buy actual DVDs physically for 2 reasons. One, because I absolutely love the film and I just have to have it. Or 2, it's really funny to own, like this thing here, Unranked. The purpose of this category is films that either I haven't watched at all or I saw a long time ago and haven't revisited, so I don't have much to say on them. So yeah, I get a lot of my movies just from thrift store hauls. And when I saw this one, this is just beautiful. This is art right here. They're using some was it the Greek alphabet, I think? I know the title sequence for Flubber. They also did that, and it never looks cool. The pie for the end, what are we doing? This is crazy. Um, but it gets even weirder on the back because I I don't even know what this entails. I mean, of course, it's got to be a life-changing journey. I mean, this guy's definitely going to change my life here. We just have some random people smiling, but then you have little 3D animated I can barely see that. I think is there more in... Oh yeah, okay. So there's this thing inside which just lovely. So and yeah, there's all the scenes. What is reality? New perceptions. Down the rabbit hole. So I mean, if I ever want to I don't know, escape the Matrix, I'll have to watch this film. I'm sure this kid will really just expand my mind. Great world religions, Buddhism. This one was there was a whole collection of them. They're all part of the same series, and it came plastic wrapped with this adorable little book, which I guess is yeah, also just teaching you about Buddhism. The reason I got this is because I myself am not religious, but I have I wouldn't say it's an obsession, but just such an appreciation for Buddhism. It started out in high school. My friend group had just a weird inside joke. We just found the idea of being a Buddhist monk incredibly funny. But then I took one philosophy class in senior year, and we had a whole semester or whatever on religions, and I learned so much more about Buddhism there, and I was again, I wouldn't say I don't believe in God, but I'm not I don't subscribe to one religion. But it's if I had to choose one, it would definitely be an Eastern religion, and Buddhism. I think their ideals are it really is just about being the best person you can. The Pretty Woman. This was one that I found at a thrift store, and it was really the spine actually that I was just I kind of just need this because I just love the cover. I don't know if it sounds like a pretty generic drama romance. I read the synopsis on the back. But I mean, just come on. It's great. It's so lovely. Obvious must have for any any real film collector. Ralph Bashki's Lord of the Rings. This one was pretty recent that I just saw it in the wild, and I had seen a few clips, and I do love like traditional hand-drawn animation and Lord of the Rings, so I was like, I gotta check this out one day, but that hasn't happened yet, so it just sits with the unranked rest. Seinfeld specifically, I think this is, season 2, just the first 5 episodes. This was one that my partner just had, or like I think a relative of theirs had in their collection, and the relative was like, "Oh, go through my films and DVDs and take whatever you like." And so they showed this to me. I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll take it." So I've seen most of Seinfeld. I think I watched like 5 or 6 seasons. I don't really remember. That's the main reason I'm not ranking it, because I don't have any strong opinions about Seinfeld. Animatrix. This is one that I have seen before, but I watched when I was like really little. So my parents are big fans of The Matrix, so yeah, they show me those the whole trilogy along with the Animatrix, and I just have like a very vivid memory. I mean, you can just tell I got it used by this horrible, just like permanent sticker on here. One interesting thing about getting DVDs used is like this type of casing, which has obviously like gone out of fashion, but it's like, it's really interesting. Just like, I would imagine it's a little cheaper to produce because this part doesn't seem to be plastic. It's cardboard. But anyways, I just remember there's like one of these movies where I believe they like give the Matrix like a body or something, and they're trying to like see if the Matrix can like create something good. And it was just like, again, this is why I'm not ranking it. I don't have a lot of opinions. I need to rewatch this. Bolt, last but not least for the unranked category. I just love this gamer's choice previously played. This is in fact the DVD, but I think I got it from like a used game store slash they just sold all sorts of used stuff, but they're primarily they sold used games. This one, again, I watched this when I was very young and have not rewatched it since. I heard it doesn't hold up great, but I need to form my own opinion, so it's unranked right now. But I have some fond memories, so good on you. Goodbye. Pleasing motion pictures. It, the original TV movie. Absolutely carried by Tim Curry's performance. I gotta say, even though the ending scene is just like kind of abysmal, just like a pathetic way to end, overall pretty interesting film. I do enjoy it more than the 2017 ones. I think Tim Curry's It is a lot more threatening. Like, I forget the name of the actor who did the new one, but the new one is just like, it's too goofy, but it's somehow goofier, but while trying to be more menacing. This is like, I think this is the perfect level of like camp for this kind of story. It's like, I don't think it is something you can take like too seriously. Like, I mean, just look at this guy, or like, come on. Avengers Infinity War. Uh-oh. This one is kind of a guilty pleasure for me. I remember, like, obviously, like, I grew up when like the MCU was like just like going through the motions, or like building itself up, And I mean, like, yeah, I was never like super invested. But when like Infinity War, when they were leading up to that, like that was when it like actually got interesting. Because they stopped doing like the uh, I forget who said like, oh, there's only like two superhero movies you can do, where it's like one is a story about a hero like being born, or a story of heroes coming together. Um, but the reason this one's interesting is because, of course, Josh Brolin's performance. This is the Thanos movie. Um, and the I love the ending of this film so much. And it's like, in an alternate universe, I wish this was just the end of the MCU. Just everyone fucking dies. Like, like that is just, it's such a great subversion of expectations. You're like, there's no way they're gonna let like all these like crazy bald actors just like fade away into dust, and they do, and it's like surprisingly emotional. Like, even if you're like, even when these films were coming out, like I didn't care that much about like Spider-Man and Iron Man. Like, I've always been more interested in like DC stuff, even though, well, I'll say like the DC comics, because the DCU is always kind of shaky. I can admit that like Marvel's way better at doing, or they were way better at doing films. Like, I don't know what they're up to now. Um, but God, yeah, just like the ending sequence, and like they really managed to make Thanos like a menacing threat. Just like, I love when he gets like, he's trying to get the last stone, and he's just like wiping everyone out of the way, just like no effort. He's just like seriously menacing. It's impressive, because like I don't think they've ever done that before this film. Like, it always feels like, they got to have their like narrative arc where the hero's like down their luck or whatever. But for this one, like, you actually are like, there's no fucking way they can take this guy out, and they just don't. Like, I wish more, like, obviously it's interesting because it subverts like, oh god, like 30 plus films of expectations. But just great. And I cannot get over the pacing of this film. Like, they put like, look how many characters are in the front here. They put so much, just like, they have to fit like 50 plus storylines or whatever in here, and it works. It works surprisingly well. Bionicle Mask of Light, the movie. A hero will be revealed. Um, this one is definitely like, I love how this case like reflects. Oh, I'm sorry you can like see the ring light so easily. It's not even on because it would make even a bigger glare. But anyways, this is definitely like a childhood like nostalgia type pick. Um, so I was like crazy into Lego when I was younger. I still have like all my Lego in like a big bin. Last thing I was doing with it was like trying to sort it by color. I remember watching this film when I was younger, and yeah, the scene where like Makuta, which I think that's the shadow thing's name, when he like takes the blue face guy into the, he's the guy riding the crab when he's like in the shadow realm or whatever. Like, that scared the piss out of me. But yeah, I don't think this is an amazing movie or anything, which is, yeah, why it's in the first category, or I guess second if you're counting Unranked as a category in itself. But of course, like, rewatching this film, yeah, it's very charming. I love finding all of the animation mistakes, because of course, like, I know Lego is trying around this time to like really hard to push us. I think like this movie alone got like a handful of games. So there's like a lot of, like animation errors in the background, and the animation itself is that like, again, I know this is like the time I grew up, so of course I find it charming. But yeah, that like early 3 animation where it's like everything's just like, it's like otherworldly because it's like so off. like specifically thinking about like the water in this film. It's like it looks just bizarre, but it's great. And if I oh, man, more revealed inside. Oh my god. Here you go. Here's everything you can buy from them. Oh, shoes. Yes. Oh my god. I need to get all of them. Oh my god. Why is he built like... Oh wait. Okay, I think this is the one at like... Is this the one at Legoland where he's like... He is this size compared to these people? I don't know. I did go to Legoland a couple times. When I was younger. But yeah, I watched all the Bionicle films, and yeah, I don't remember the next two, or is it just like this one, then the spider one? Because I remember the spider one. If I find the spider one in the wild, I'll absolutely pick it up, because that one is just like bizarre. I love insects and like spiders, so of course like I appreciate, or I really love all like the imagery to do with them, but especially the weird thing with the like the Bionicle with like, I guess they're supposed to be like dreads, and oh god, her whole storyline is just like, again, I don't remember it very well because I haven't seen the film in a while, but I just remember being like, what the hell am I watching? Even at such a young age. Like, wow. I don't like the time they tried to reboot it, because one, the animation looks too clean, and the main voice actor is like kind of obnoxious. But I do love the imagery of like, I think it's Matanui, where it's like a whole robot where he's got like an entire like world inside of him with like oceans and planets. Like, the Bionicle lore is crazy. Diary Wimpy Kid Roderick rules. Welcome to the next grade. Yeah, this one, I had to get this one. Just like, this is just a classic. I don't even have much to say. I'm sure, I'm sure if you grew up with this one, you know what it's all about. But if you don't, I mean, watch it. It's funny. I own a few of the Diary Wimpy Kid books. Yeah, I remember when it was coming out, I was really into it. I remember I really wanted a movie for the 9th one, because I enjoyed the 9th book a lot. And then they did do a movie for it, and it was horrible. It was that reboot with like the ugly ass slicked hair Roderick. But then even like the plot itself, they did some weird, like, they had to add like a weird like YouTuber in there, make it about like gaming. Like, what are we doing? Clerks. Funniest movie of the year. What year? This year? No way. My stepdad showed it to me, and I just think it's really good. It's really good. I would say it's like a slice of life kind of film. Just like very classic, very classy, black and white. Oh la la. I think the black and white lighting was just done because they like, they couldn't light it well. But yeah, very, very good independent film. Just lovely. Secret of Nim. This one is another one that I watched when I was growing up. It also scared me shitless. Like, why they make these these animals so scary. But yeah, this is a Don Bluth film, so just gorgeous animation, just beautiful. Purely delicious. What? You tell me you want to eat these rats? Or these mice? Oh god. 8-page booklet inside, really? But yeah, just great stuff all around. SpongeBob, the first 4 seasons. It's the Hillenburg run. Steven Hillenburg, the creator. These are like the seasons that he was showrunner. I have a 4th one just because when I bought these on eBay, they only had either just like first 2 seasons or just like 1 to 4. So I know when Steven left, like, it didn't immediately go to shit or anything like that. Like, SpongeBob was good for a long while. But it's just like everything that man touched is just like pure classic. When I was younger, I don't remember which season I was watching because I know like some of my relatives had a couple on DVD that I would always watch through. It must have been like 5 or 6 because I don't know. I was just watching this one the other day, and like this is like I think there's like 2 hours on one disc. Like this is a crazy amount of SpongeBob. One disc, and each one has like 3 discs, so you got like 6 hours or 5 or 6 hours per DVD or per season. Like that's insane. But honestly, yeah, not enough. 9. I love how this film looks. And you know, very topical nowadays, being about an AI. Oh my god. But oh, look at this case from Blockbuster. Ain't that a blast from the past? Numero 9. But yeah, just so visually creative. Just really in a league of its own for animated films. Like, there's not many other animated films I can think of that, or at least that I've seen, that just like go this dark. Like, it's like kind of disturbing. But I love it so much for just going for such a brutal tone, honestly. Just great. Death Note. The complete series got a nice little cardboard sleeve here. Oh, this is backwards. 2 DVDs. First of all, I have an extreme soft spot for the English dub, just because that's how I first watched it. I think I first watched it on like Netflix when I was like 14, so you know, perfect time to get into Death Note. Really love, of course, like the first half, you know, up until you know, spoilers, up until Elle dies. I think at like episode 24, and there's like 38 episodes. It's just so good. The character dynamic these two have. I also own the whole manga, and like I was really disappointed when I bought, I think it was because I have like the black tome editions. I was really disappointed when I bought like the 3rd one, and they did not have the foot rubbing scene. Like, that is one of my favorite scenes. I don't care what anyone else says about that scene. Like, that is just the scene to just like, come on, they knew what they were doing. Just like let him kiss. But I just find like Elle's whole arc of like almost like giving up is really accentuated by that scene where it's like he's kind of like realized that like he's fucked. Or that's my interpretation, where it's like he sees the like supernatural power, and he just like he kind of knows that it is light, even though light goes through all these shenanigans to get him off his trail. But like Elle just knows, he has that like perfect intuition, but he just can't prove it to anybody, and he knows that he won't be able to do anything until he can prove it. But it's not happening. Like, come on. And even after Elle dies, this is so glossy, like, this is interesting. But even after Elle dies, I do like Nier, and I do like the aspect of, Nier and Mello kind of being 2 sides of Elle, and, you know, they don't actually, or they aren't able to live up to Elle's, or aren't able to surpass Elle's legacy until they work together, which I think is, like, kind of glossed over in the part 2 of it. But yeah, in the manga, I think that's way more thoroughly explained, or just like given a lot more emphasis. But even though it kind of dips during the second part, or I guess second part, that would be like episode 19, so it's like what, you know what I mean. The ending is still jaw-dropping. Like, I love the ending so much. Like, I made like multiple songs, like just sampling like everything from that episode, because like, I mean, obviously, yeah, I watched it when I was like a bit younger, but still to this day, if I rewatch the episode, rewatch episode 24 and 38, L's death, and then Light's death, they both just make me like so emotional, because like, obviously, you know, you gotta love L. It's pretty sad to see him go, but then Light's just like desperation in that final scene, just like Mikami just being like, "You're no god, you're just like a scumbag," and then him calling out to Misa and Takeda, and just like, ah. And then, of course, the final scene where he turns to Ryuk and he's like, "Ryuk, you have to do this for me, or you can do this." There's like still some, just like, he's just so desperate, like he has to win. He has to win. But when he finds out Ryuk is writing his name, I do find the differences between the show's ending and the manga ending. I like them both. I like him just dying right there in the warehouse at Ryuk's feet. But I also enjoy the meditative run he goes on with like Ryuk's dialogue over that, like, or monologue over that. You know, I find that like a very peaceful. Like, he has a bit more, or like has a bit more time to, I don't know. Well, obviously, like, he's been shot, so in that time, he's probably not reflecting too much. But he could be. And I like to think that, like, where he like went to go die, it's like he kind of came to terms with it. Whereas in the manga, um, it feels more like he's like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna die," and he's like, "Oh my god, no!" And then he goes away. So like, maybe I could say he was given a bit more dignity in the show, or, you know, it's a lot more. There's a lot more ceremony to it, and I like that. I think, oh man, the sound design in this show, it just so perfectly captures kind of Light's mentality with how he views the Death Note, and really how he views himself as, you know, a god. All the choirs and just like the crescendos, like the sound design is top notch. Again, I said I sampled so many things from just those two episodes I talked about, because they're just like so lush and just full of these like strange noises, but just like, just the atmosphere is great. But yeah, I know some people aren't a fan of Nier too much. I like Nier, but I think this one is kind of so low in my ranking for me, just because I watched it at like an impressionable age. So it's like, I think I'm pretty biased. The Dark Knight, last for the pleasing motion pictures. This to me is like, I know it's not as much of a clusterfuck, but it's a very similar feeling to Infinity War to me, just because Heath Ledger, he's the whole reason that, like, I mean, obviously Christopher Nolan's directing, but Heath Ledger is like the reason I come back to this film. Just a brilliant, you know, I don't have to say anything. Like, it's been said by so many people just how captivating and like mysterious his performance is. Yeah, just carries his whole film, and Christian Bale too. Definitely like huge crush on him. So the two of them together, I mean, like, I will say Bruce Wayne is like not super developed in this one. I do like Bruce Wayne's depiction a bit more in the recent Batman, but I don't like that film's depiction of Batman as much. I know it's like, it's a different tone. It's a bit more of like a true crime thriller. And this one's a lot more action. There's not a lot of like detective work, I would say. but still, I find this Batman a bit more compelling. Riveting roller coaster ride. Zoolander. I don't know why there's a. Oh, this case is abysmal. There's a little Velcro thing on there, but Zoolander. Uh-oh. He's so quirky. There's so many iconic scenes from this film, and so many like quotable moments, like, "Oh, Pop, I think I got the black lung." Like, just great. Rango, Johnny Depp's Rango, the coolest, funniest movie of the year. This is another animated film that has a great, distinct style. Lovely orange casing. Thank you, Nickelodeon. Very real and raw story. I mean, like, it's so cool because, like, it is like this like cartoon character stepping into like a real Western. Like, he brings this detached and like cartoonish energy to this like rough and tough cowboy world. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Just classic beyond classics. I watched quite a lot of Monty Python growing up. Faulty Towers. Love John Cleese. My dad is also into very much like all the classic British comedy. But yeah, this one is just like, I think this is just like the perfect culmination. Of course, Terry Gilliam, his animation is just like, otherworldly. Love his stop motion stuff. And yeah, this has just like such a fun and intoxicating energy. Just pure nonsense, but the best kind of nonsense. It's a roller coaster ride, takes you on a journey, picks you up in this cup, throws you across the world. And when I saw this for the first time, and that ending came up where everyone just gets arrested. I thought that was the most brilliant thing like I've ever seen in a comedy. And I think like I love the meta jokes the most, like the whole thing about the subtitles. Just like I love stuff like that where they play around with fonts and they bring in like different parties to different voices in, but you're not hearing different voices, just voices through text. It's just, yes, so much fun. Fantastic Mr. Fox, a rental exclusive. Oh my, how did I get my hands on this? Just another just brilliantly animated, lovely stop motion, and a great story too. It's about anthropomorphic animals and their struggle to almost remain or become human. Which is really interesting because, of course, like, obviously, humans ourselves, we are animals. So it's a very, like, heightened version of a very real human problem where it's like, yeah, do we give into our more instinctual side or intellectual side? And this explores that through the common roles of animals. And, of course, Bogus Bunsen Bean, just like... every time I watch this film, I'm humming that song for days. The Incredibles. One of Pixar's best. Like Brad Bird, he understood the possibilities of animation and how it can enhance a story, and that it isn't just a medium for kids. Like, it can be serious, and it can be the shot composition in this movie, the pacing. It's a roller coaster ride. It's all just so well done. This film feels like, a remake of like a classic, like black and white film. It's just like, it's so good all the way through. Lovable characters. Syndrome, again, if a film has a compelling villain, I'll be there. Like heroes are great, but they're only as great as their strongest foe, I believe. And yeah, Syndrome, I love how they set up his backstory, and I think, and like you don't expect him to come back. Like, it feels like such like, because the whole flashback in the beginning is like made to relate, or it's heavily implied to just be setting up the reason why supers were banned, and like that whole debacle is like so adult. Like I really appreciate how much this film respects its audience. Like Mr. Incredible being sued for stopping a man from ending his own life. Like that is like some great stuff. And it's a funny film, it's a subtle film, it's about like family drama. It's just great. Great all around. Meet the Robinsons. Uh, the one thing with this ranking is like, there's a lot of picks where it's like, I can understand why people would have, like, for example, The Incredibles over Meet the Robinsons. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say this is like as good as a film, considering like actual filmmaking techniques or even the writing, but again, a perfect villain in the bowler hat guy. Just like immaculate character design there. And I love his relationship with Doris, how he is just like, I mean, it makes sense how he's just like a complete buffoon after spending like his entire like adolescence just like sitting in a bed just like mauling over what is the main character's name now? This just showcases how much I care more about the villains. It's like I do not remember this kid's name. He's from Canada. But the bowler hat guy just makes this movie so much. And all the future imagery is really inventive. The family dynamics are fun. The weird, like anime inspired, like meatball, fight. This like elastic robot's really good. I love all the inventions they show off. And yeah, it's heartfelt and it's interesting. Yeah, like if you met your future family as an orphan, like wouldn't you want to be adopted by them because like that's the family you built, that's the family you would want. Oh god, and the alternate future where Dolores or is it Doris or Dolores? I think it's Doris where she takes over. That's another scene that just like haunted me when I was younger. The music in this film also like touches me every time I rewatch it. Just great. But also a reason why I would say like yeah, The Incredibles is a better film, even though I put this above it. Is like the whole obviously if you're gonna have time travel, there's a lot of complications with that, and the whole like I'm never gonna invent you thing. Like that like Doris shouldn't have disappeared right away. I don't know. It feels like they're wrapping it up a bit fast, but this film just has so many great scenes that's like I can forgive it being a bit rough in the writing department. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Season 1 and 2. First of all, absolutely abysmally ugly case here, especially with the re-releases of the manga in the West, where you have those like hardcover. I have a few of them. I'm not gonna grab them right now because I think I might do a separate video just on some of my favorite artists, and Araki is one of them. But goddamn, just an eyesore of a DVD case. The DVDs themselves look quite nice. But you might be saying, oh, why do you just have the first one? That's because this is the only parts of JoJo I like to rewatch. I just enjoy how condensed they are, and I really love Haman. I think like the introduction of Stans made a lot of sense, but it becomes something different, and I like both of them. I'm a big fan of like all of Araki's work, but just like the first two parts feel so self-contained, and I think they had the advantage of being the source material being shorter because they took a lot more effort to really up their game in terms of art direction. Like specifically with the first part, like they did so much with like all the hue shifts and all the ways they would like frame their internal dialogue with what they do with the visuals. And especially with how the first part actually looks. Like I think it was written or illustrated in like the early 80s, I want to say, or late 80s. I'm sorry, I don't quite remember, but it looked like it was, it was a different style for sure than what JoJo has become. But because it was that a lot, because the style was so much rougher, like it needed this kind of this modern update a lot more than some of the later parts. Like once you get to like part 5, the animation really drops off in terms of novelty for me. Like of course it's good, but it's like I have so much more reason to watch part 1 and 2 over reading it because of how far they go with the stylistic differences. And God, the ending to part 1, again, it's so short, but that is like, aside from, I won't talk too much about the later parts in this video, but like, I don't know, I still think the ending in part 1 makes me the most emotional out of any part, because like the whole time, they're just talking about how much like a gentleman Jonathan is, and they do a good job of like showcasing that, I think. But the ending is where you really see the difference between Jonathan and Dio. I mean, obviously they're already so different by the time he gets his hands on the stone mask, but like, oh, that last scene when he's just holding him in his arms, and you kind of see on his face that, like, despite literally, destroying his entire childhood and killing him, he still has some weird love for his adoptive brother. And maybe, I mean, it's expressed in the third part that Dio also respects Jonathan to a degree. And you can just hear that in, I haven't watched the dub, but in the sub, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of Dio's voice actor, but of course, he's kind of a legend. Just, he's screaming his name, but then he says it, softly again. And it's just like, there's a bit of mourning in there, and there's just a mutual respect between the two, despite being enemies. And I love that kind of depth, even though, it's very, very quick. It doesn't need to be harped upon. And it's like, even though Jonathan succeeded in letting his wife get away, but he's almost happy being buried alongside his adoptive brother. His adoptive brother who ruined his entire life. But also didn't in a way, because if it weren't for Dio, maybe he wouldn't have met Irina. And then the second part is just like, it's pretty crazy. I kind of love the like, I guess it'd be like 1950s supposed to take place, like New York, vampire hunt. It's great. Obviously, Joseph Joestar is a really fun character, even before the third part. But yeah, perhaps another video I will talk more about my opinions on the rest of JoJo. But in terms of like the anime, like this is the one part that I've watched the other parts more than once, but this is the one that I keep coming back to because it is so self-contained. Lilo and Stitch, another great animated film I watched when I was younger. Just, oh man, especially how they do like fluids in this one. I mean, it's set in Hawaii, so they gotta have that amazing looking water, but like every single fluid just feels like so vibrant. There's always like splashes. It's just like the great animation. Both Lilo and Stitch, they are just like a perfect like comedic duo. Another film that just like, it's silly, but it respects the audience. It's going through the relationship between, I guess, an orphaned pair of sisters. There's a real threat of the Child Protective Services Agency like taking her away, and like Stitch is just like a wrench in their operation. It's so interesting. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Definitely my favorite sitcom. I love shows where just everyone's just a horrible, horrible person, and these guys do it the best. With me, I just have seasons 1 through 5. I find Nightman Cometh is a great place to end. Not that I dislike the later seasons, but I feel like these seasons, the first season, they are still trying to find, they don't even have Danny DeVito yet. Like Dee describes, Caitlin Olsen describes her character as like the wet blanket during that season. Season 2, like Frank's kind of the voice of reason. And then by season 3, yeah, everyone's kind of where they're supposed to be. Even though it takes a while for the character dynamics to get to where they will be for the rest of the show, I still find it really charming to go through the episodes in order, because there's like a lot of growth. It was very daring, and obviously like took me off guard right away to start the series off with Charlie gets racist and he drops the N-word in like the first 5 minutes. Just you can tell these were some scrappy kids, but they're like 30, I think, by the time they started this. But yeah, I don't dislike the later seasons. For me personally, when I rewatch the entire thing, I will only go up to season 12. The episode where Dennis leaves, I think that is like a perfect ending. And like the episodes are just getting to the point where they're kind of jumping the shark a bit, but there's still like, or it just feels like everything's getting too crazy, and like Dennis acknowledges that in a previous episode, and by the end of that one, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go start my life elsewhere. Season 13 onwards, it's still entertaining, but it's just not the same. Especially compared to these early seasons when they have just like, the writing is so tight and they have just so much energy. This is really like perfect comedic television right here. Hoodwinked. This is the last step on our riveting roller coaster ride, and there is in fact a roller coaster in this ride. This might seem like an odd choice being placed above so many others, but I just have such a soft spot for this film. I think it's incredibly well written, which makes it even funnier that it is animated so poorly. I believe the story is that it was sent off to an external studio, or I think it was a foreign studio to be animated. And it's crazy with this stacked cast. Paired with this animation, but I just find it so charming. It's so interesting, such a unique story. The second one's horrible, but this one I think is just like an all-time classic. If it had better animation, it would be compared to Shrek way more. World Gateway Goodness. Grand Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson classic. Now, I have not gone through all the Wes Anderson movies, but right now this one is my favorite. I love all the stuff with the different aspect ratios to showcase the different times. There's just a great sense of pacing, and of course, like all the shots, so all the miniatures, like it's lovely. American Psycho. Warning, adult content. Oh my. This is just another example of my attraction to Christian Bale, which I feel like I accidentally called Patrick Bateman in the Dark Knight review. But that's just because, like, yeah, this is obviously the film where you see the most of his physique. Very entertaining, super interesting. I like that you never know what's really real. It really puts you in the shoes of this character. He's like weirdly pathetic. um, I guess, yeah, he, like, it's possible that he's not a murderer. Um, and it's an interesting ending and commentary how, like, he just, like, he begs people to punish him for his supposed actions, even if they are fantasies. He's admitting that, like, he's sick, he doesn't feel human. Um, but nobody cares because he's in a position of power, and that's just like who he is. Like nothing matters. I love all the scenes of him like drawing with crayon. Uh, all this, like, especially the scene where he's like he's got a body in the back of his car, and the like buttoned up guy comes by. He's like, "Oh, what you got there? It looks so heavy." He's like, "Or don't mind me." And he's like about to take it away. Um, he's always got videotapes to return. He's got to kill Jared Leto. Thank you for that. Berserk: The Golden Age. So I read through the Berserk manga, obviously masterpiece. But when reading through it again, I'll often only go through the Golden Age arc. I still like the rest of it, but the Golden Age is just so perfect. I will say I like this better than the anime. I don't know what is about it, but like I find the animation here matches the tone a lot more. I think the 3D animation in these films looks really great for the most part. Obviously better than like the 2016 attempt, but this is just like a perfect encapsulation of what makes Berserk so great in my mind. Lord of the Rings. I have the whole trilogy here. I put this right beside Berserk because I feel like they're kind of similar. I mean, they're both fantasy, but I would consider this more to be more high fantasy, and Berserk is, of course, more dark fantasy. It's been a while since I've watched these. I've been meaning to rewatch them again. Like, I don't think you can ever do another adaptation of Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit movies, why those exist. Because this is just like a perfect, like, epic, like, I did the stupid Gollum voice anytime I could. For some reason I mentioned before that I like spiders, and yeah, so the spider scene where Frodo gets like wrapped up in the web, like that really stuck out to me and has stayed with me. Yeah, I need to rewatch them because when I watched them, I don't think I picked up on like a lot of it, but I mean, just the visuals alone were enough to cement to me at the time that these were just classic, great films. Memento. This is a cool little case I found. This is another just thrift store find. Very interesting. It's like his file. And there's all sorts of little details. Oh, watch. Oh, I wonder what's there. This is an actual sticky note. I feel like that's gonna come off. But it's very elaborate, this whole edition. Memento's one I haven't seen in a while, but I remember it being pretty amazing. Of course, the whole way the film is presented to you, it again puts you in the head of the character so well. You're piecing everything together at the same time as him, and it leads to like a great climax. I remember seeing online the like board they had to map out how they were going to show or what order they're going to show each scene, and that's just such a brilliant way to make a movie about a character who's struggling with memory, is to make it non-linear and make it crazy. Whiplash. Oh my god. Another brilliant villain performance by J.K. Simmons. This is just a non-stop, just like tense film. And it poses some great questions about greatness in the field of art. and like their dynamic, it just the evolution of it. Oh, that whole ending sequence is just so amazing. Um, yeah, I can watch this film over and over. It's perfectly paced. Every piece of it adds to the story. The one thing I think about so much though is it was this one video. I think it was like classical jazz musician giving their take on the music of Whiplash, and they're talking about the scene where like Fletcher's already been fired, and he's like in a bar somewhere, and Miles finds him, and then or that's what is his character's name? That's the actor. Anyways, Miles Teller finds him and he's like playing the most like this is my not my words, but he said it was like the most like basic bitch jazz ever. I don't know why that's just so funny to me. Like they couldn't have found like another piece of music to add in that was a bit more complex, but it's not an important thing. The important thing is more so the relationship between these two, and how like the director said that this was basically like a sports movie is how it's like structured, and the reason why Miles Teller plays the drums is because that's the most like physically demanding musical instrument according to the director. And I mean, yeah, it's very compelling to see him bleed out on the drums. I mean, like I can never get into drums. Like I don't have the foot coordination, and like yeah, just the rapid, just like it looks it makes it look like a real sport. And it's interesting because they also at like the dinner table, like he's also talking to his like cousins or brothers. I don't remember which. And yeah, he's comparing it to a sport. And, there's so many great lines uh, about just like legacy, and there's like a weird thing about self-fulfilling prophecy. I just adore this film. It does so much in a concise package, and at the end when because there's this great dynamic between him and his dad, who he clearly has like some kind of resentment towards because his dad became like complacent and just like got a good enough job to support his family, and like that's shown in a bit of dialogue when they're at the I think they're at the theater, or they're talking at some point, and he's like, "Oh, do you like the raisins and the popcorn?" He's like, "No, you just did that because you like it, Dad." And so he's obviously through getting into this like exclusive program or class, he's like, he's trying to become one of the greats. He wants to get away from this life of mediocrity, and like everyone around him is just like bleeding mediocrity. He's like, I can't stand you people. Or he didn't say that, but that's what I feel when I see his performance. This little actor, he does it so well. I say little, but he's older than me. But he captures that kind of youthful arrogance so well. A spellbinder. I agree. One fun thing about the song "Caravan." This is not related to the film, but I was seeing a local show, and there was this band that I was seeing for the first time, Chopping Spray. Great, amazing kind of fusion jazz band. But someone in the audience, like they were going on to the next song, someone was like, play Caravan. And I was like, oh, do they just have a song called Caravan? And then I went home and listened to their album they put out not so long ago. And no, they do a full-on cover of Caravan, and it's great. I'd recommend checking their music out. They're a good group. And I'm curious if they were inspired by this film, or they just, they were great musicians. So maybe it's just like a jazz staple. I don't know much about jazz. The Shining. Woo! This one's spooky, scary. Another just like classic film. I really love Jack Nicholson just like every performance he's in. Recently, I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Just like he is so brilliant, just such a great actor. And of course, you had Shelley Duvall in here too. Both of them just play off each other beautifully. I love the very just like indirect horror of The Shining, and there's a bit of scary, or there's a bit of unsettling imagery, but a lot of it is just shown through how the hotel seems to be interacting with Jack here. Like obviously he goes to that bar. Or that lounge, and they're like kind of encouraging him to do some heinous things. But yeah, Shelley Duvall's performance, she just has so much terror. And there's so much that's unspoken, and it's but I really want to talk about that ending scene because one of the reasons that I was brought back to this film was because of my love of the caretaker, which is an artist I might talk about in another video about music. I had watched this film before, but that scene had been recontextualized for me by the fact that the caretaker, James Leland Kirby, he said that it inspired the Everywhere at the End of Time albums, or the shorter one he did. His titles are so long, I always forget. But yeah, it is such a powerful scene, and of course the music complements it well. And yeah, I love that like nothing really gets explained. It's all just kind of left up to interpretation. Like it's always interesting to think about, yeah, like did he take this job in this hotel with the intention of murdering his family? Or yeah, was he driven to that? Like how much of this hatred or malice comes from inside, and how much comes from the influence of the spirits of the hotel? We may never know. Taxi Driver. We're just going classic after classic here. Don't have a lot to say about this one. But yeah, really, really enjoy it. I can definitely see the influences on Joker 2019, which is not, I don't have a copy of. I would say I do like this one better. Mainly because I enjoy slower films, but I think this one goes into a lot more depth with the character. And it's interesting that he gets like a bit of a redemption at the end. Parasite. Speaking of parasites, look at this ugly ass sticker on here. Certified fresh. Okay. I would say this one it's almost like a black comedy. Well, especially like the entire scene of them, like the whole process of them like slowly getting hired by this family one by one, and the whole scheme to get the like maid to make them think she has like, I think it was like cancer or something. It's kind of crazy. It's fun, but then yeah, as soon as they get like discovering the charade kind of collapses, it gets like it's a serious drama, and it does that so well. Yeah, I don't need to sing the praises of this film. Everyone knows it's amazing. Oh man, but that ending scene, uh, when it's snowing and the sun scene, like the Morse code with the lights, like that is such a beautiful way to end it. I think it ends with like a similar instrumental as it started with. Yeah, just fantastic. Goodfellas. Now, this is a film I remember watching for the first time and being just completely, absolutely captivated. It's I think it's around 3 hours long, but it just like flew by, and by the end I was just like glued to the screen. I felt like the damn main character himself, just like tweaking out looking for the helicopters. That's how it was looking at the screen, because I was just so engrossed by it's just timeless, and it's perfect. The Sopranos. Ooh. I just have the okay, first of all, just look at this case. This is the most like decadent like collector's edition. You have this little ribbon you pull up, and then like unfolds, and then it's just so shiny. This is like they did not need to go this hard with the packaging, but they did, and I appreciate it. I've seen because this one I got from a thrift store. I had to get multiple copies because both copies I have had like multiple CDs that or had multiple DVDs that didn't work. This one I made sure every DVD works, and yeah, so good to have the whole first season. I've watched the whole thing, of course, and yeah, this is like what I mean when I say like fly in a wall type stuff that brings you to another world. This is like some of the least intrusive filmmaking I've ever seen. You're just like you're always right there with them, and yeah, the whole dynamic of Tony Soprano like the show deconstructs its main character throughout its entire run, and it's just brilliant. There's especially one thing I was not expecting because it's so like. I mean, there were some good examples early on, but it's like it's very raw. It doesn't feel like it gets too stylistic with a lot of the choices. But I was so surprised. The music, there's so many amazing songs that I've discovered thanks to this. I think I don't remember which. Well, okay, the first one I can think of is the scene where, well, spoilers, of course, but the scene where Christopher relapses on heroin. I think it's just called Dolphins. Oh, it's so beautiful. The Captain, by Kelsey something. Love that song. That one immediately became like a karaoke mainstay for me. What's the one when Pyomai has died? I don't remember the song from that one, but I do remember that scene being very touching. There's lots of great moments, and there's lots of moments where the rawness, like they really take advantage of just how plainly this is all showcased, just warts and all. And there's just several moments in the show where I'm just like left agape. And I don't know if I could rewatch this one anytime soon. I feel like I need to forget a bit more of it, even though, I'm not seeing a lot of the context right now. But I do still remember a lot. Like Tony's whole mescaline trip, that's so interesting. And his dreams, and it's like surprisingly surreal. I went into this one after watching Breaking Bad, and I'd heard that this was kind of the progenitor with the themes of the anti-hero, or being centered around an anti-hero. But I was pleasantly surprised at how different it was. Yeah, of course, David Chase and Vince Gilligan, very different directors. Like they both have that same theme, but they do it in such different ways, especially where this show starts. It's at the end of this kind of journey of, achieving the American dream. And it's just, so much great commentary, characters. It's really interesting to see, Tony's kids grow up. It's interesting to see which characters have arcs and which ones don't. And by the end, so much of the cast has been whittled down. The mob itself seems like this cancerous entity that just destroys everything. And in the end, I know it's up for debate, but I think the mob got to Tony as well. Schindler's List, last one for this category, and yeah, definitely the least fun. I don't really know how to talk about this film because I feel like I can watch it again and again, which is it sounds very bad, but it's so raw, so emotional. I mean, it's about a real event that happened. It's just so tragic. I'm just always mouth agape, just taken away from it because it's just too real. It's seriously just like the purest form of tragedy, and how everything is shown it's just heart-wrenching. It just puts a bear trap on your heart and doesn't let go. And I will never forget the ending scene, just one more. If I just sold this, just Liam Neeson breaking down. Oh, it's 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 really beyond words. Must-see spectacles. The Thing. This is just kind of a perfect horror film. It's got, iconic landscape. It's set in the Arctic. Uh, you don't even know by the end, like, who's human, who's not. So many great actors. And, just, this is like the number one candidate to showcase like why practical effects are so important. Because, well, I mean, especially if you compare it to the prequel they tried to do. I know the production for that was trouble, and they did try and do some practical stuff, but they had to, or executives made them like paint over it in the computer with some 3D graphics. But this thing stands by itself in this as a movie that 100% could not be done without practical effects. If there were no practical effects, this movie would fall apart. Okay, there's just so many scenes. The doctor getting his hands bit off, the little head scurrying by. The way this thing like shrieks and screams, the low key John Carpenter score, he's just like tapping the fucking synth, just bum 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 bum. It's so great. Just like that's just like the heartbeat of the film, and just everybody's gonna die. Everybody's gonna die. No, the ultimate alien terror. Oh, and I love that map painting when they're gonna scale down to get the alien out of the spaceship. Oh god, I think they got their grossest scene out right away, because when they bring in the Thing, who's disguises the dog, and he gets all those like tendrils going everywhere, and he's shooting like acid or something at these other dogs. It's just so delightfully disgusting. Obsession. This one is very new. I mean, obviously, I just saw this year. But as soon as I saw it, I knew that like I needed this one in my collection, because one of the scariest horror movies I've seen in a while, and it does it in such an inventive and simple way. Just the fact that the director clearly has such an eye for lighting. There's so many shots where Nikki is just lit in the most horrifying way, or just interesting way. Like, it feels so driven just by what you see out of the corner of your eye. I had no expectations going to see this film. I saw this cover here, or the poster, and I saw the title, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be like a film where like this kid's like stalking somebody, because I heard it was about kind of like online relationships and such like that. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised at every turn by this movie. There were so many points where I thought it was going to go to shit, but it pulled me back in every time. I love how they address the One Wish Willow, just how like casual all the employees who are aware of it, how they talk to the main character. Obviously everything Nikki does is just hysterical and terrifying at the same time. Oh god. One scene my partner and I really disagreed upon was the scene where one of Bear's friends is getting an acceptance letter to a college, and they really didn't like that it had this like really like cheery music. It felt like a bit of tonal whiplash, but it felt like the most perfect setup to the joke, which is of course was not expected. As soon as I saw Nikki running in the background, I thought she was gonna be like tap on the glass or something. No, her just ripping open the door and just like obliterating that girl's skull. Actual jaw hit the floor. Like, that does not happen for me often, like in the theater, or hasn't happened recently. I had no words, which like just describes this movie. It's so good. Already I think this is a classic horror flick. Twin Peaks. Oh boy. Got a big ball right here. I'm gonna take this ultra reflective case off. I love this collector's edition, mainly because of that kind of plastic slip there. But yeah, it's another one that folds out like this. Just great. I only bought the first season because of the fact that David Lynch originally wanted the series to end with one season, but it was the network that really forced him to continue. And then during the second season, after he revealed the killer, which spoiler, after he revealed that Leland was the killer, he kind of dipped out. And I know there's one actress that really didn't like the fact that he essentially abandoned the project. I mean, I don't know how removed he was from it, but it seems like based on the quality of like the middle half of season 2, he must have had like almost no involvement in the actual directing. I don't know about probably writing too, because yeah, especially the James storyline. James storyline is no, worthless, and it starts out as like a parody of soap operas. By the time you get in the middle of season 2, it has become a soap opera. It's very interesting how it goes down that path. But then David Lynch, he comes back and he pulls it back around for the amazing finale of season 2. Of course, that was really my introduction to some of his more abstract filmmaking. And yeah, I was so just like wrapped up in it. And I'll briefly talk about The Return because that's a whole different beast. I mean, first of all, it's like, what, like 18 hours? 16, 18? I can't remember. But for that, it's like he wanted to take a stab at doing like a crime thriller, like true crime, or like sci-fi true crime. It's very interesting, especially Dale Cooper's entire journey through who knows what. And then I think it was episode 7 or 8 where you have like the 30 minutes of just like abstract cacophony noise. That was one where, you know, I can usually like watch films all the way through, or like shows, I can binge them. That was a point where I had to take a step back and just process it. It was just seriously bizarre. And the rest of the series equally was, we're all in a dream. It's okay. The Return really captured something that that made me fall in love with the original Twin Peaks. And I think it's David Lynch's greatest skill as a director or writer. Okay, he wrote this with Mark Frost, I believe. But he will introduce things that seem nonsensical and silly, and just like, you'll see something, you'll just be like, this is nonsense, this means nothing. And I feel like I've been conditioned by more modern media to accept that, oh, this is random, and this won't mean anything, directors want to have fun or something. But for David Lynch, a lot of these ideas, majority of them, come back in satisfying ways. I think it was the moment when in the dream, I don't exactly remember. I need to rewatch this. It's been like a year or two now, but the thing with the chewing gum, when that gets paid off, your favorite gum is coming back into fashion. I don't remember how it gets paid off, but when it did, I was like, this is special. Okay, this man is a genius. And Twin Peaks: The Return, it had that feeling on a large scale across the entire show. I was, for like 90% of it, I was left scratching my head. And then, yeah, when Dale Cooper gets his like memories back, or his like soul or something, everything, like all these pieces, like everything that he's done, everything he's been through, it's all just been leading up to this one point. And I couldn't believe he pulled this off. It is like a 16-hour movie that has a satisfying conclusion that everything matters in. It is just mind-boggling. And I can't wait to see the rest of David Lynch's filmography because it is truly special if you have not seen Twin Peaks. I would even recommend like just the first season will let you know if you're interested in David Lynch. And if you are, please continue, seek out his other work. Every piece is brilliant in its own way. Spirited Away, the Studio Ghibli classic. It's just such a specific feeling that this captures. It's totally unique in the world that it creates, and the ending. Oh, I love Miyazaki's obsession with grassy fields, and this one really understands the contrast and the childlike horror of the other. But there's also a lot of kindness in this one, especially with was it called No Face, the spirit thing. There's and I feel like I'm making that noise like every 5 seconds with these films, but it's true. It's how I feel. I feel like I'm on the edge here. Like these are crazy. It's amazing to me that art like this can exist and that we're able to own it and just like witness it any time. Just the animation alone is enough to just like bring a tear to your eye. Just pure beauty. House. This one I discovered more recently as well. This is the Criterion Collection edition. Or it might be, I don't know what other editions were released of this, but that's the one I own. Another very special and unique. I think the director of this film was only known for doing like commercials before, Japanese commercials, because yeah, it's of course Japanese film, but he brings that just like relentless salesman energy. I believe that's him right there. If that's not, come on, that has to be. I don't know who else that could be, but he brings this relentless, just childlike joy and wonder to every single scene. I would barely call this a horror film because it's just too whimsical. It has too much fun. And it's just like the visual effects are it's all very dreamlike. Feels very innovative. They're just having fun with it. They're just having so much fun. It's intoxicating, the amount of fun that's oozing out of this disc. And oh my god, the ending is interesting. But then it was one of those moments where, yeah, it's just rapid, nonstop. The ending's very chaotic. And then I was confused for a second, but this is a weird, like, I find this doesn't happen very often where the end credits complete a film. I can't think of any other examples. If you know any, let me know. But the end credits of this film, the one song, I forget what it's called, but I of course I saved it and I have to listen to it after, because it gives you so much peace. There's like this eeriness that is totally dispelled by the ending song. I was just very surprised. Throughout this whole film, I was surprised, but the way that it's able to communicate with you on a subconscious level, which there's only a few films in this ranking that I think have that power, and House somehow has that. I mean, I do think this is a great film, but just because it's so silly in presentation and in style throughout its runtime, the fact that it's able to communicate such strong emotion subconsciously really confirms to me that it's a stroke of genius. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, oh my god, pure classic. I talked a lot about House being absolute blast all the way through. this one kind of tops it. And I think a lot of that has to do with where I originally watched this. I watched a screening at the Rio Theater. People were shouting out, things at the screen. There was this one guy there, which I thought he worked for the theater because he had a line for every second scene. It was seriously impressive. But my partner said they're like, oh yeah, he was here last year and he had different jokes. I believe that kind of screening is called a matinee. Before the show even started, there was a drag contest or, costume contest. The person who won was somebody who was doing a Rocky cosplay, so they just had the golden Speedo, and they were buff as shit, so the other costumes were better, but this guy, he clearly put the work in, or that's just how he is, but, he put the work in somewhere, and, what a hunk. And I got to do the thing where, they invite you up on stage, if this was your first time seeing the movie, and they write a V on your forehead with lipstick, and then they're like, give me your best orgasm noise. I did a very high-pitched one, because, that's funny, I guess. But the weirdest thing was there was this, a few spots after me, there was this one girl who went up. The host went up to them and like, yeah, you know the drill, give us your best, sex noise. And this girl's like, I'm a minor. And everyone's like, oh. And so the host was like, oh my god, where are your parents? And she's like, no, my friend brought me here. And the host's like, why did your friend encourage you to come up here? It was so awkward. But, the host, they had a good sense of humor about it. But, we're gonna skip you. But then the next person's they're like, oh, what does sex sound like for you? And they're like, I'm asexual. And the host is like, oh, yes, that sounds like blank. Very, very funny indeed. And it only added to how much joy came from watching this film. Amazing musical. I was listening to the soundtrack for weeks after. Of course, Tim Curry steals the show, but every other actor does the role perfectly. Just B-movie love letter. Absolute fun-filled festival. Breaking Bad. My next pick needs no introduction, but what does need an introduction is this fucking case it came in. This is diabolical. I mean, why? I've never seen a case so just morbidly obese. But I kind of love it. Breaking Bad, like I said, it has all the praise you could get in the world, and I agree that, it's one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Vince Gilligan, absolute, amazing writer-director. I listened to a lot of the Insider podcasts, and just the thing that really makes him a great showrunner is how adaptable he is. There's so many things in the show you feel couldn't happen any other way, but a lot of them were last minute changes they had to do because of scheduling or money, or they would set up things they wouldn't know how to pay off. The first ones that spring to mind is Mike's inclusion at all. Originally, Mike's introduction is when he comes to Jesse and Jane's place. Spoilers, after she dies, to help him clean it up. And originally, that was supposed to be Saul Goodman. How? I could not picture Saul doing that. I mean, he is a criminal. He can be serious, I guess, but he just does not have the presence that Mike does. And the other one is in the final season, the machine gun that Walter buys. Vince didn't know what they were going to do with that at first. And in one of the podcasts, he goes like, oh, people probably forgot about that. And the rest of his writing team was like, nobody in the audience has forgotten about the machine gun that Walter has in his trunk. He's like, we have to pay that off. And he's like, yeah, you're right. But yeah, just an amazing show. Of course, it's so filled to the brim with a quotable, beautiful. Oh, I think I don't hear enough people talking about Hank, because there is so many great characters. But I think on my most recent watch through, because this year I watched it for the third time, and I really realized how much I love just Hank and how he deals with the toxic masculinity. Specifically the scene where he gets in the elevator and Marie and the doors close and he just breaks down and it opens and he's just like stone-faced again. He really has a beautiful arc, even though it's, he's suffering through most of it. He's still such an interesting character. But the other thing I've come to learn the more and more I watch this is that I kind of hate Walter. Better Call Saul. Yes, I am one of those people that prefer Better Call Saul over Breaking Bad. But like I was saying, a big reason for that is that Walter, for me, is just so unlikable. Especially on repeat watches. Jimmy, on the other hand, you are rooting for this guy till like his dying breath, till the very end. And I think just like, I just enjoy the characters so much more in Better Call Saul. And I enjoy the slower, more laid back, more realistic approach. For me, Walter's like, he's a bit of a Gary Sue, he's always, he suffers, but he always has a solution, he's like a mega genius, whatever, mega mind. But Saul here feels more like a normal person. He's a very skilled con artist, but apart from that, he's so grounded. And nothing cements that more than the people around him for me. And yeah, I just enjoy all the characters of this series a lot more than Breaking Bad. Of course, you have Chuck, which Chuck, one of my favorite characters, period. Michael McKean is just an unstoppable force of comedic and dramatic acting. Actually, after my most recent watch through, I went back and watched some Mr. Show stuff for the first time. And there's a Mr. Show sketch called The Lawyer, or it's like Law School, where Michael McKean is playing like a stuck-up law professor, and Bob Odenkirk is like his student who fills in for him and pretends to be a lawyer. Like, I'm so curious if Peter Gold watched that sketch at all, because it was in the early 2000s, so it's definitely possible it could have been somewhat of an inspiration. But there's also the fact that Chuck's role was originally imagined to be for the guy who plays Cliff Main. I just noticed that it's his heart that's missing. Oh my god. And then of course there's Kim, like easily like the greatest like female character I've ever seen written in show or movie. She just has so much depth, and you get to see her just like her and Saul have this like symbiotic relationship. They're both like addicted to scheming, but like, Saul is at first obviously more daring than her, but he's slowly like dragging her down with it. But yeah, it's definitely a different flavor than Breaking Bad. Which is why I totally understand if somebody prefers Breaking Bad over Better Call Saul. The thing I don't agree with is watching Better Call Saul first. There are so many moments where it's very clear you're expected to know who these characters are. There's so many, like, they have a formula for it of like character reveals where like you like see their figure, you hear them speak, and then you see their face or something like that. They do that so many times, and it's like, I feel like it would make no sense if you hadn't seen Breaking Bad first. Like, for example, my partner, a friend of theirs got them to watch Better Call Saul, episode 1, when they had never seen Breaking Bad. And when Tuco showed up, spoiler, they were just confused. And for me, having watched Better Call Saul directly after my first watch of Breaking Bad, you know, I found that scene like, oh yeah, they're bringing this character back. Like, you really do have to, like, they can't exist without each other. Even though I like this more, I would never say that it stands alone. But I think together, they create this insanely perfect run of television that just gets better the more you watch it. All right, this is it. My top 10 favorite films of all time that I'm extremely emotionally attached to. Mary and Max. Oh my goodness. Where do I even begin with this one? Pure misery. That seems to be what he enjoys depicting his art, and I'm all for it. Specifically, whenever I think of this film, the hanging scene comes to mind. Already a great start. But just her dancing to that song. And then when she finally meets him, but he's it's so funny in parts. The animation is wonderful. Just some top-notch stop motion that really accentuates the otherness of this world. It's just so alien for both characters. But there's still some, like, the scene where his, like, imaginary friend commits suicide or just, like, leaves or whatever. Oh no. There's too many. I like the narration a lot. It's another one that's hard to talk about because most of it is not fun. But it is, but it's not. It's just, to me, it's a very important film. It's a lot about perspective, about how people at different points in their lives can gain things from each other. But these two characters who, in location and age and gender, everything, they're just so polar opposites, just completely different, but they find companionship in each other. And I think that's just a beautiful reflection of the human experience. The Secret of Kells. This one, another just such a uniquely animated feast for the eyes. The story is also, it's a very, I would say more so mature. Like, there are some, like, one or two, like, funny moments, but for the most part, it's, it's all about the Vikings invading and how this head monk, he needs everyone to build this wall, but the wall won't protect them. Oh god, that scene where the Vikings show up, or the Northmen as they're calling this, is just so tragic. And I think a great animated film, you forget that it's animated. And with a style so unique as this, it's surprising how you can forget that it's animated. Even coming back from the scene with Kel Crum, it's about, like, the culture my family originates from, so I have that connection to it. I love this character, all the animation with her, her death and supposed rebirth. The little song she sings, I used to sing that all the time when I was younger. Howl's Moving Castle. Putting this above Spirited Away might be blasphemy for some people, but it's the emotional attachment aspect that, that really elevates this film for me. I would say probably I would say definitely the story Spirited Away is more compelling, but there's a couple reasons why I hold this one in higher regard. One, and the least important, is that in the English dub, Christian Bale plays the main love interest, so it's gotta be 10 out of 10 stars right there. Um, there's a very specific scene, with a field and a little house with a chimney that has like it's like invaded my mind, and it's a very important piece of an impactful dream I had in my youth. Listen to my album Forest Worm to learn all about it. Just kidding, you won't be able to learn anything from that. It's important to me. Like I said, I just have a lot of memories that aren't exactly from this film, but they involve this film. Obviously, it's visually stunning. I love seeing the castle move. Great characters. A nice story too, with the girl who turns into an old lady, and now she understands the plight of the elderly. Serial Experiments Lane. This is the last show I have on here, and it's definitely one that I don't know if I could watch again, because I find it quite disturbing. The reasons revolve around the time I watched it, but I just relate to, or I find a lot of comfort in these ideas being displayed in this way. Lane being so abstract, it could obviously be interpreted a lot of ways. What I interpreted this series as was a study on addiction and disassociation and how those two intertwine. Everything to do with Lane's other half, and how I cannot believe this came out way before the real popularization of the internet, but it's just like The Matrix, where it hit the nail right on the head, and it really dives into like our potential, our real current relationships some of us have with technology, and how much it feeds on people's dissociative tendencies. As someone who's dealt with that myself, or has a tendency towards dissociative behavior, this series speaks to me so loudly. And being a Gemini, Lane having the twin self that she converses with inside of her is just too real, too close to home. There is this like kind of romance that sneaks up on you with Lane and her best friend, and like it all culminates with her friend coming over and pulling her out of that like patch of wires. Lots of great moments in this. This is another series that I watched, and then after like thinking about it for like months, I was like, I have to like scrub through every episode again to find samples, because just sound design, it's great. There's so much whirring and ticking, and just they love the phaser effect. They use that so often, and it works. There's definitely some like threads that I don't feel like go anywhere. I'll definitely say it's flawed, and it's not a fun watch, but it is captivating. And that theme song, I just so tragically good. Perfect fit for a show as dark but enchanting as this. Jacob's Ladder. This was a film I only got into, or I only discovered, because I heard of its influence on the Silent Hill series of games, which I haven't played, but I love a lot of their imagery, and I'm very interested in the analysis of their stories, which I know kind of spoils the games for me, but I'm not as big as a gamer as I used to. But this is such a tragedy of a film. Just another piece of pure misery, but in the oddest way. The scene where he goes upstairs with Macaulay Culkin. I don't have many words for this one, but it is powerful. It is serious. and it's a journey. It's a journey about a man in purgatory being torn between heaven and hell, and there's so much interesting philosophical notions surrounding this film. I still need to read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which I have a copy of now, but Mulholland Drive, the other David Lynch film on this list. This one, again, I won't have too much to say, but if you remember what I was talking about with House, this is a film that made me realize that films are capable of that kind of subliminal messaging, I guess I would say, because I remember the first time I watched this, I was in the theater and it was very captivating, but I was just thinking to myself, I was like, I don't get it. Like, what is going on here? And then there was that final scene where he just basically like flashes a bunch of images at you. The blue curtain, she kills herself, the weird monster, and like intellectually, I still did not understand what he was trying to say, but there was a part of me, a subconscious part, that did. And all it said to me was, I get it. And I broke down crying. I did not know film had this kind of power, but it does. And this is proof of a film that is just... David Lynch just understands us better than we understand ourselves. I'm convinced of it because this hacked my brain or hacked my emotions, and I love it for that. The Iron Giant. Oh yeah, okay, let's pick up the mood a little bit because we got a lot more of a fun one. I mean, just ignore the ending. But this is such a great animated film. It came out at the peak of 2D animation, right before everything moved to 3D, but they were willing to innovate, they were willing to go the distance, and this is proof that, we need 2D studios again, because you could not do this movie in 3D. I mean, I know the Giant's 3D, but so much is captured in the 2D animation with the characters. And it's another film that this is Brad Bird coming in with, I think this is his masterpiece, because it just gets more and more surprisingly dark. Especially at the end, when the entire town is about to face nuclear annihilation. That is crazy. And then the giant sacrifices himself. It's like, oh, spoiler. It cannot be said enough just how amazing this is. I actually have the original short story in book form. It's not anything like the movie, really. But I have this version, like one of these old scuffed cases. I actually own 4 other versions of this, because the original copy I had, I don't know what Warner Brothers was thinking, but there is for some reason when I put it in my PC, because that's how I watch most of my films, I have a DVD player that I took up to my laptop. It refuses to play unless I have some proprietary software. That software was designed in 2001, so it does not work on any of anything modern, I would assume. I couldn't get it to work, so that DVD was busted for a while, but I'm like, this is one of my favorite films, I need to watch it, so I started trying to find copies on eBay, and I found a copy that worked, but then this one, I think it was the theatrical release, it included a scene that I hate. And if you've watched this movie before with this scene, I pity you. Because this is a scene randomly late at night and Dean's TV turns on and it starts showing the Iron Giant's thoughts, I think, or his dreams. And then they have one shot where they show multiple giants like marching. Like, I think that is a huge mistake. I think that totally destroys a lot of the mysticism surrounding the giant. That kind of, well, it straight up spoils the ending of him actually turning into a proper war machine. It's just insulting to me, insulting to any audience member of this movie. And I'm so glad I found a copy where that doesn't exist. This is the same cut I remember watching growing up where they don't have that stupid scene. And also, the other copies I got, some of them had like horrible color correction. Yeah, it's a shame there's so many poor copies that exist of an amazing movie. Angel's Egg. We're in the top 3 now. This is my favorite animated film of all time. I don't know how well you can see it, but this case is so pixelated and scuffed because I don't know if this film ever got an official DVD release. There might be a Blu-ray one, but this DVD release, I had to buy it for somebody who custom makes them. I think they're from Greece or something. It was just on eBay, but I needed this one physically for sure. This is one of those films where I can understand why people might not like it that much. It's very, very slow, very minimal dialogue. I took my partner to see like a theatrical re-release, which by the way was like the longest line I've ever seen at my local theater, like for Angel's Egg in 4K. Like, I mean, I'm happy that enough people love this film, but still, like, I was just so shocked that the line was so long. But I had to see this because the original way I watched this film was just like a rip on YouTube where the whole thing was like fluctuating between like, 720 and 360p. So it was like, but I mean, that's how good this film is. Like, I didn't even need crystal clear visuals to get what it was putting down. And for me, the main takeaway of this film was its themes of a loss of innocence. That was my main interpretation, especially everything involving the egg, and when the egg ends, and when she like falls down that whole scene always just leaves me speechless every time I watch it. I think specifically because I don't explore it as much anymore, but in senior year when I watched this for the first time, I really had an obsession with the concept of a loss of innocence. As someone growing up, I felt it was important to reflect on the ideal of, leaving your childhood behind or finding a way to compartmentalize that piece of you or live with it. I just found that concept so fascinating. I tried to explore that in many pieces of art and music. And this film just came at that perfect time when it completely reflected my views or, made me think about it a bit more. I know the context behind this film is a lot more about the director's struggle with faith, specifically like questioning his faith. That like ending shot where they keep zooming out, I've heard theories where that's supposed to be the bottom of like Noah's Ark. Like, this film is just so fascinating. And the art direction, this is another reason why I hold in such high regard, just because of who inspired. And when I discovered this, I was on one of my kicks where I love to do this thing, or if I have an influence, I like to go back and find their influences. And the people that this film influenced, I know, especially the kind of rainy city that takes up a lot of the film, it's very easy to see how this inspired Ari Gibson, the art director of Hollow Knight. Clearly the City of Tears, but it also, in interviews I've heard, it inspired Miyazaki of Dark Souls. So, both of my favorite game creators being inspired by one piece of media, I had to check it out, and I'm so happy I did. Amadeus. This is what I would consider a perfect film. The story itself, I feel so bad that like one of the greatest films ever is in this disgusting case. But I mean, yeah, this is secondhand. So obviously I did not choose to store it this way, but oh god, yeah, the story itself is beyond compelling. Salieri's journey to almost Breaking Bad in a way. I mean, you know, from a young age, I just like think about that speech he says so much where he like renounces God and like burns his cross because he's like oh, I asked God to make me a great musician and he did, but he made a better one and now he's taunting me with it. And he's like, I will destroy your creation. It's just, as someone who, as I expressed in the very beginning, who is open to faithful interpretations of life, I really related to Salieri as someone who wishes they were more talented in their craft. And I think any artist can watch this movie and see themselves in Salieri. Every artist has somebody who they see and they're just like, why do they have it all? And I just get this, and it's like, it's such a perfect encapsulation of that feeling of inferiority when coming across a more talented individual, especially Salieri being in kind of his little bubble where there's a bunch of people who, don't know that much about music, but, to them, he's a genius. And this is especially well showcased when they introduce Mozart for the first time. And, Salieri wrote him a little, intro tune. And Mozart's like, oh, that's cute, but, let me take a look at it. And he completely just, demolishes it into, a way better song. And Salieri is just molding out. But, of course, the greatness of this film is seeing the destruction of Mozart, who, everybody knows Mozart. That great scene, I believe that, yeah, during the beginning where he's in the hospital still, and he's like, do you know this song? You know this song? You know Nothing I've Written? Oh, you'll know this one. He plays Mozart, and I love that he proves his point on a meta level because, as an audience member, I only knew the Mozart song as well. So it's this film is just, it is historical, but it's so indicative. It's so reflective of just any artist's journey trying to reach greatness. And it shows you both sides. It shows you what constantly striving for greatness can lead to. It shows you the downfall of being consumed by greatness or being, too well renowned, where so much is expected of you. You can work yourself to the bone. It shows you that, your craft can be poisoned by jealousy. Again, such a long runtime, but it flows seamlessly. I adore this film. It is the greatest. But there's one film that I like a little more. Mr. Nobody. Before you say anything, I do think that Amadeus is a better film, objectively. But I just have more of an emotional attachment to Mr. Nobody. I think Mr. Nobody is very flawed, but the themes of this movie and the way they're presented, I have just never seen anything like it since. And it just speaks to me on such a deep level. I will say, Jared Leto is very good at looking confused. That's what he was typecast as for this movie, because he just looks confused all the time, and he's great at it. But this, where even begin? This whole thing, I believe, is just about choices. The choices we make, but it's also about This feels like a proto Everything Ever All at Once. It covers the same themes in a bit less of a sci-fi way. I mean, there are some sci-fi elements, with them going to space and everything in the future. But it feels like it's not a plot point that there is a multiverse. It's more of a narrative framing device where, I mean, it's kind of implied that the character has an ability to, I'm not sure if they're saying he can see other multiverses or he can jump between them. I think he can jump between them because that explains his confusion. At the center of it, just like Everything All at Once, it's about love. It starts off just splitting the story in three, or, introducing that early on, where it's like, if he chooses any of these three girls to pursue in the future, it'll lead him down certain paths. And that just keeps going, but then there's a lot of like forward, backwards, past, future. I like that the narration changes based on his age. I love the inclusion of Mr. Sandman by the Chordettes, and how as he grows up, they change. I think the song shows up like 3 or 4 times in the movie, but they have different versions every time. And it works so well. And it's such a great way to showcase a changing of taste and a change of perspective just from age. But then I think what really makes this movie, the kind of 3-choice romance, kind of gets derailed, no pun intended, by another decision that has to do that, like, I guess he didn't think about before, or he didn't think it was important, but it just breaks everything, because it feels like he's trying to find out, which is the best choice, or he can't decide, so he's living all these lives all at once, but then he kind of realizes that, like, these 3 choices aren't the choices that matter. The choices that matter had to do with his parents. The scene where his mom is going away on the train and he has to choose between staying behind with his father or going with his mother. And when he comes back to this point, he comes back and he chooses to run off into the distance. The camera work is so great. How you've seen this scene a couple times already in the movie, but now they just change the camera angle and you get to see the other path, where he almost walks out of his own life early on. And there's so many framing devices stacked upon framing devices. It sounds super confusing, but it's surprisingly legible. And that's the best part about it. I mean, there's so many good parts, but it's coherent. It speaks to the entire human experience. Like I said, choices are such a broad idea, and it covers so many bases. It talks about the butterfly effect, and, like, where our choices lead us, where they could have led us, regrets. The film starts out in the future where everybody's been made immortal, so technically speaking, their choices no longer matter, because no matter what, they're going to be alive. I guess they don't really explain how that society works too much, but he's really the last person with choices that matter, and he really hasn't made any in his life, or has he? It says a lot. It says it well. The ending. The ending gets me every time, when it's sad, but then it's so hopeful. This is such a weirdly optimistic film, because he passes, but then time reverses and he's just laughing. And it's just beautiful. I hope you enjoyed this little exploration into my DVD collection and some of my memories with them. Thanks for watching!